The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
From the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, this is the 2018 Championship Esports Association American Pool Supply Truck Series. Tonight for the second race of the 2018 season, where we say hi from Las Vegas, Nevada for tonight's race, the American Pool Supply 125. Second race of the season. We're happy that you're with us, as we will be all season long on Sunday nights right here at LSRTV, your home for sim racing and iRacing. Live from we're high atop the speedway, we say good evening sim racing fans and welcome. Myself, Evan Pasoko, up in the booth with you for the moment. Downstairs, our producer Cisco Scarlett, who's twisted and tweaking at aisles and bringing us to you this evening as well, as we get set to go racing for 125 laps from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Second race, as I noted, on this 24 race calendar that's going to bring us all the way through late of November on this 2018 racing calendar. And if you were with us just a week ago from Daytona International Speedway, we opened it all up with Christian Peterson going to victory lane, opened the season with a win, and obviously as you look at the points coming into tonight, the points reflect just as so. Christian Peterson leads over top of the likes of Dustin Dean, Seth the Merchant, Tyler Dalton, and Ricky Harden. Something else that we should note, and if you haven't heard of it and are interested in finding out, we also announced a couple of days ago that going to be doing something fun with this American Pool Supply Truck Series and our Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto LLC. So if you're starting to notice some familiar names on Sundays and Mondays, there's a little bit of an additional cash prize up for grabs for the driver who competes in both series and who has the best average finish. So it should be fun watching familiar faces from Sunday nights join us on Mondays and vice versa. But this is the first 1.5 mile racetrack of the season. We will see Las Vegas later on this year. It'll be the 20th race of the season, which equates to being the 5th to last race on the year. That one is going to be a little bit longer at 150 laps as we get down to the grind, but 125 laps on deck here tonight from America's Racing Showplace. These intermediate tracks, no doubt, going to make up a bulk of the calendar, and I'm sure, as we talked about last week, though, this is not just your everyday truck series calendar. There is a good mix of what you are going to see over the course of the season. Of course, going to have the Daytonas. The Las Vegas' next couple of weeks include Iowa, but there are going to be some select dates that include dirt tracks and short tracks and even a road course sprinkled in here or there. So it's definitely going to be something that you want to keep an eye on as the season goes on. And I think what that specifically means, Cisco, is it's not going to be something that a road, or I guess I should say the intermediate racetrack ringer can just come in here, knock out those consistent finishes on those kind of racetracks and be completely dominant. Having that kind of consistency on an oval like that is going to help you, no doubt, over the course of these next 23 weeks, but that is not going to single-handedly win you this American Pool Supply Truck Series Championship.
So you can't Kevin Harvick, is what you're saying?
Essentially, no, you cannot.
So, albeit, like you said, it will definitely help in some of the crucial races in this race are going to depend on you being good on these 1.5 miles. So, of course, that's always going to play a factor, but absolutely not the end-all, be-all of this series. We got 2 miles, we got short tracks, we got even a road course thrown in there as well, like you said, Evan. So, definitely a varied up season here, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some of the crossover for some of these drivers, guys like a Tommy Ryan, a Seth the Merchant, for example, those two sticking out. Randy Oakham as well, Dwight Beverly, to name a few, Tom Morano as well. All these guys running in both Sunday and Monday, they're going to be drivers to watch here because they're going for that cross series championship that, like we said, we announced a couple days ago. So a lot on the line for that. But it's the whole idea of, and when Kyle and I kind of came together on it, was the idea of we want to create storylines across series. Obviously, we have some of that with the guys from the Super Speedway Cup Series coming in to run on Mondays. Now we kind of have a connection between the Sunday and the Monday series, and also, obviously, the Sunday and the Wednesday series. So definitely an interesting, bit of storylines here. And, for one thing, Set the Merchant, I think, is in, like, every series on LSRTV now. It's hilarious.
Definitely slowly becoming a household name, that's for sure. And, I always enjoy races that we're able to broadcast at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Obviously, a little bit of bias because it's the hometown track, but it is a very fun racetrack that I think to compete on as we get set to race for 187 miles. And back to the point I was making a little bit earlier, talking about that we'll have this racetrack a little bit later on this year as well. We'll also be racing at the Bullring, which is just across the street, also later on this season. Those will be back-to-back October the 7th and the 14th. 20th and 21st races on the 2018 season.
And you called the race there too.
I have. The only place outside of the virtual realm. So it'll be fun to get there, but that's quick math, 19 weeks away. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, so we can get the works out in time, let's go trackside, take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid, and introduce you to how we will roll off tonight for tonight's American Pool Supply 125 in the Las Vegas desert. So what are the names we were just talking about? In fact, Tommy Ryan, best driver in the one-lap single truck qualifying session, is 31.095. We'll put him on pole, and he will be joined on the front row by the number 22 car of John Lade. We take a look back at our number 2. Third spot tonight belongs to the 4 car of James Krahula. He'll be accompanied by Christian Peterson, who, as we noted, comes into tonight as your championship leader, having won just a week ago from Daytona. And then behind him, rounding out your top 5, that's the 19 truck, the Chevrolet of Tyler Dalton.
And you got William Kempf in the 09, going to start 6th. Seth the Merchant going to start 7th. 8th going to go to his teammate Kyle Manger. 9th going to go to David Killow in that 27 truck. And Billy Tungate, the American Pool Supply head honcho, at least the guy who makes things happen over there, he's going to start 10th.
He rounds out the top 5 rows. You take a look back on row number 6, 11th position tonight goes to Randy Yoakum. He'll be joined as well by Kenny Lowry, who rolls off in 12th. Dwight Beverly gets the honor of the unlucky number 13 Sparring start tonight. We'll see what the Northern Tool and Equipment Chevrolet Silverado can do. He's got Ryan Howard to his right-hand side. He'll roll off 14th outside of row 7. Behind that, Will Dravicki is 15th.
Yeah, and you got Reese Baum in the number 1 truck, going to start 16th. Newer name to us. We'll have to get used to that one. Nicholas Caldwell in the 28, going to start 17th. 18th to Derek Paulson. 19th to Bo Gibbons. 20th going to be Jeremy Watkins. Then you got 21st Sean Cross. 22nd is Tyler Lugo Vickery. 23rd to William Roberts Jr. Dustin Turnage going to start 24th. Michael Held 25th.
And then around out the field here tonight, final company trucks that put down a time in qualifying going to be 26th through 31st. That's Tom Morano, John McNaughton, Eric Forbes, Matthew Murphy, Dustin Dean, and Brock Drury. A couple of trucks did not put down a time, so they will start at the back on provisionals. That'll be Christopher Hussey in 32nd, Paul Henley 33rd, not on the grid at the moment, Timothy Adams in 34th, and C.J. Mason in 35th position. That's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. Obviously, we talked about this Las Vegas Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles in distance as we go racing tonight for 125 laps, 187 miles between the drop of the green and the checkered flags this evening. And as always, we're so happy that you're joining us on a Sunday night at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of the pit lane, and the field is going to be in the hands of the number 6 Chevrolet of Tommy Ryan, who looks for the race start box, and they look to the top of the flag stand for the American Ethanol. Green flag flies, and we are racing second race of the American Pool Supply Truck Series season underway from Vegas.
Down to turn number 1 we go, and to the outside was looking a little bit the driver of the 22. and not quite able to make it happen. That's John Lyday will drop in behind the number 1 of Tommy Ryan as they thunder down the Nellis back straightaway into turn number 3, and John Lyday going to send it to the inside and try and get the spot early, slide up a little bit. Vincier racing to the front already. Lyday going to try and clear out a 4. It's going to be close, but the 22 going to steal the first lead lap.
Leads it after the first 1.5 miles. The 6 car not going to give up. Tommy Ryan still up there, but look for him to maybe do just as the 22 did to him and swap positioning, get to the inside of the racetrack. But it looks like the 22 of Lyday will hold strong. The progressive banking at this super speedway allows the kind of racing that you're seeing there, and also even when the tires start to wear off and we get into the longer ends of a run, that you're going to have the ability to work both up top and bottom, 12 degrees down low and 20 degrees up top. But Tommy Ryan keeping him pressed right on the back bumper as your top 2 continue to keep each other going hot out of the gates, but it's been all John Lyday so far, still leading as this time to head into turn 2 and head to the Nellis straightaway.
And one thing to note here tonight, Evan, is the fact that these guys only have 2 sets of tires, and it's going to make that strategizing come into play a little bit more here. Fuel, yes, you're going to have to worry about that, but you're definitely going to want to worry about how you're going to take your tires. 2 sets means that basically you can, I think it would add up to about 4 jacks, I believe. So you could jack up the car 4 separate times. So, you know, take 2 tires on one stop, maybe 4 tires at the end. You know, lots of strategy to play for there.
And that's going to be something that is in effect every single week over the course of the season. X amount of allotted positions, or rather X amount of allotted stops at a pit lane as far as how many tires you can and cannot take. But the way this race works, it is 125 laps. Yes, it is a healthy distance, but it is not overtly long. If you can spread yourselves out and get some good green flag laps in, nothing's to say that that doesn't fit right in with what would be the would-be pit strategy in this thing. However, when you have 35 trucks on track, spreading things out and taking it easy are typically not the first things that are on drivers' mind. But so far, so good. I know I mentioned that Paul Henley was not on the grid for the start of this race. He did get on track, but he's not been able to complete a lap. That car is now back in the garage, and it appears that his night may be done before it really got started. As Tommy Ryan in the 6 car now back to the race lead, just like that, snatches it back from the 22 car.
Yep, Ryan was able to steal it away, but Lyday's not going to let him run away with it just yet. And also, do not count out Tyler Dalton. With the leaders fighting the way they are, Evan, he's worked his way into his picture. The Kirkwood Transportation Chevrolet going to close in on John Lyday as they come out of turn number 4. Keep an eye on that 19 truck. He's been lurking around. He lurked around the first weekend. Once again, right back to the front of the field already for that driver of Tyler Dalton.
Making quick moves up through the field, he was able to get around James Krahula in doing so. Krahula's not part of this 3-way battle for the race lead. It's Ryan, Lyday, and Dalton running away with it as you look as Dalton taking a look to the inside of the racetrack. That was a shot out of the front of his number 19 Chevrolet. Side by side right now for second. John Lyday on the outside should be able to get the run this time off for the quarter. And you will see these drivers at times utilize that apron down below the white line. And Tyler Dalton did not want to go there. The 22, though, does clear him. Lyday still into P2. Not really in a rush, though, to block the inside. You see, he stays up about a lane or 2, and Tyler Dalton once again tries the inside. Doesn't stick that time either.
Yeah, it's not really working for Dalton, that inside line. I think he's going to have to wait. I think the outside line, at least the way these guys are running, that middle line is definitely preferred, but as that rubbers in, Evan, that's going to allow these guys to have to, it's going to force them actually to start searching around and try and find a little bit more speed, and especially if you have fresher tires, once you, at the beginning of these runs here, it's going to be a lot easier, but if you start saving or taking 2 tires or something like that, all of a sudden you're going to try and go anywhere you can to get a run, and so you don't break that truck loose.
Top 3 freight train continues to stretch things out now over 1.5 seconds. And for the 4th place at the racetrack at the back, Krahula's 4th, Kemp is in 5th, Peterson, Lowry, Killo, Dravicki, DeMerchant, your top 10 as we complete lap number 9 from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But the top 3 on track will not get off of each other, with the laps led now in favor of Tommy Ryan as he's led the last 6 times around. Watch for Dalton, though, in the 19. Again, we talked about what you can and cannot do, fresher tires, and obviously how that's going to play a factor. He's really working hard. As we take a look a little bit further back at another battle that's going on the racetrack right now with that number 4 truck way back with Krahula talking about that 1.8 second difference. He's under attack by Peterson as well. So the 2-3 car right there doing the same thing that Tyler Dalton and the 1.9's doing in front of him, and that is making those aggressive dives down to the inside. It's a very good way to try to set yourself up to make a pass, but is that the best move to maintain the longevity in that race truck?
No, I think he's trying to get as many positions as he can here early, Evan. That's the way I'm reading the language out of the Krahula machine right now. So definitely keep an eye on him. And we know Peterson is probably in conserve mode because he's not leading right now.
And he started in a pretty good spot. You mentioned that Tyler Dalton went up from 5th to 3rd. Peterson started in front of Dalton, who's been all over the race leaders. After starting this race in 4th position, keep in mind, that is the outsider on number 2. Probably not the best starting position to be right out of the gate. I would prefer to be down on that inside line of the racetrack. Maybe that's due in part why he's actually down 1 position from where he started this race, but still in a very comfortable spot. As we take a look back up towards the front, Tommy Ryan starting to get out of the picture just a little bit. Only Lade and Dalton in that frame with the 22 and 19. That's the fight for 2nd position. Half a second now behind Tommy Ryan, who's starting to stretch out the legs.
Yeah, Ryan up to about 7 tenths in front and opened up that a little bit, opened up that gap a little bit, and hearing from race control that we should go look at 15th because, oh my goodness, Evan, there are trucks everywhere over here being led by that 57 to Seth the Merchant on the inside. Up on the top side, that's Nick Caldwell, and man, it's busy over there in 11th land.
I'm not even sure which battle you take a look on. The wider the camera shot, the better. I mentioned when you got 35 trucks, spreading it out and taking it easy is not what's on everybody's mind. And these trucks are probably tighter right now than they were when they came across the start-finish line to take the green flag in this race. Drivers moving top to bottom. Everybody trying to establish a position. You see the 2 car on the inside of the racetrack. He'll get a spot away from DeMerchant as the 57 loses a little bit that time on the outside of the racetrack. And the next challenger comes in the form of the 07 machine of Bo Givens.
Yeah, Givens down the inside and going to try and sneak by Seth as they head into turn 3. Not quite able, though, and Seth going to get the run on the outside and follow through. That's Dirk Paulson, that 5 truck up on the top side. He's going to try and follow behind DeMerchant. We hop on board him as we come across the start-finish line and kind of boxed in for the moment here. But it looks like Seth's going to be able to clear the 07. No, he won't. Seth had to back out of it in turn number 1.
And the outside, that's not what I expect to see that 57 struggling with. Typically on the outside of the racetrack, you can get back into the gas a little bit sooner, wind it up, and use those 20 degrees of banking right up against the safer barrier to actually benefit you coming down the straightaways and to make up for some of the time that it takes for you to kind of woe that truck down coming into the corner. He'll find a little bit of a spot there. I don't know if DeMerchant really wants to tuck down in line per se. He's got that 5 truck now coming up the inside of the racetrack. This right now is the battle for 19th position. DeMerchant's going to lose another one, so not a very good go at the very beginning here for the Peterson Irrigation Chevrolet. DeMerchant started this race in 7th, and he has fallen now to 19th and 20th spot now.
Yeah, and then we just flashed up to take a look at, I saw it was about not even a tenth between Tyler Lugo-Vickery, Ryan Howard, and Randy Oakham all on top of each other. This is the battle for just outside the top 10 for 11th, and side by side, those 2 continue to go, and they're going to go 2 by 2 now as Caldwell's caught up to them, and he's going to stay on the inside, and the longer those 2 in front stay side by side, it's going to bring that whole pack right back to them. Slide job, thank you very much. Ryan Howard, 42, going to cut the nose off Vickery there.
Exactly what you have to do, though, and obviously, I'm sure there's a little bit of a voice in the back of these guys' head telling them, hey, let's take it easy, let's preserve that truck, but the problem is, when we're looking back here in the middle of the pack, and the draft is definitely playing a factor in these trucks on a racetrack like this, as we see speeds just shy of 180 miles an hour when you go down to the corner, it would be very nice to just run in line, take it easy, and run single file, but you cannot do that if you are not actively trying to pass somebody. As you look back up towards the front, Tyler Dalton again trying to make a play on John Lade for 2nd position. If you're not making a move, someone's going to be making a move on you, and that is why we have that sustained chaos back in the pack, which right now is almost nearly 10 seconds off of the race leaders. That goes to tell you how blistering the pace is up front, but as you look back at these cars, they're over 9 seconds off of the race leaders, and you would think they're battling for a top 5 spot the way they're driving.
Yeah, this is, they went 3 wide coming out of turn number 4. You see the Dragon clothing number 95. It was kind of hard to tell what kind of font that was, but Eric Forbes, the 95, is leading this group. Christopher Hussey, William Roberts Jr. Just a whole mess of trucks back here. And if we flash up to 18, it's a little bit more composed than it was earlier, Evan, but they're still going crazy far in the back. So everybody kind of in the mid-pack towards the rear of the field in, I wouldn't say desperation mode, but trying to get to the front mode, which doesn't bode well for those Goodyear Wranglers on those trucks right now.
And they're really going to have to wrangle them in if they want to be able to keep up this kind of pace over the course of this entire contest. We are 20 laps into this race now. Still a long way to go, but 105 to go. But look at the move of the 33 car. Held slides high at a turn 4, and that'll open things up for Dwight Beverly, who snatches the spot away. So Michael Held, somebody else who has actually had a very good start to this race, plus 9 spots from where he started. But it looks like if you get stuck up at the outside of the racetrack mid-pack, you are not in for a fun time. There's that run that I was expecting to see more out of the Merchant. Coming off at 2, he gains nearly 2 car lengths. He went from a car length behind to a car length ahead between turn 2 and turn 3. If you can figure that out, it's a good way to not lose a lot of spots at once.
Yeah, and right dropping in front of the number 5 with Derek Paulson, that's Michael Held, and Held's going to clear that spot as they're side-by-side. No, actually, no, they weren't. That was just the blur of light there for a moment, but they almost went side-by-side. But going back up to the Light A Peterson era, they're up to P3 right now. Both have actually gotten by James Krahula now, and Krahula falling back as it's going to get very close there for Christian Peterson in the 23. You're going to be able to hold on to it, but tight battle with John Lyday as Dalton's moved up into that second position.
And I think it was just a matter of time. Every time we put the cameras up there, it was Tyler Dalton who was applying the pressure, and that goes back to what I just said. If you're not trying to pass somebody, someone's going to pass you, and John Lyday was in a tough position there because Tommy Ryan was pulling away pretty quickly. You see the 19 car? Oh, yeah, Tommy Ryan's in front of him, way out there, left side of the screen, pulling now 1.8 seconds. Yeah, way on the horizon there. He has checked out and is doing about 3/10 at least that last time by, 3 to 2/10 per lap better than what Dalton and Lyday were doing when they were running single file. Now, obviously, Tyler Dalton, I think, was getting a little bit handcuffed, stuck behind the 22 Lyday, so he's sped up those lap times. Last time by only a 10th slower than Tommy Ryan.
22, near about put it in the fence coming out of turn number 2. Got a piece of the white line there, Evan, was able to hold on to it, and Peterson, I'm sure, kind of backed off the throttle a little bit, but 22 nearly put it in the fence on top of his, I wouldn't say teammate, but organizational counterpart, because of course Vincier, Six-Man Inc., both of those teams very close together in how they work. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some data sharing going on between Light A, Peterson, and the rest of that whole group right now.
And especially at this racetrack, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of those close calls all the way to the point in which they actually get into the wall, turn 2 and 4.
Oh,
if you're a little bit overzealous, you see that 4 car way up top for Krahula. If you get into the gas a little bit too early and you're overzealous with that, the wall is going to be very unforgiving. And the 4's got a great view now. The side-by-side battle that's going on between Peterson and Lyday for 3rd and 4th. The 2-3 on the inside of Peterson had it at the line, and he'll really throw it off at 1 and 2 to complete the pass. The 22 looked like he wanted to tuck in line, but he'll stay topside and really tight on the wall, but to force the issue and keep it side by side.
It almost looked like he wanted to try and slide job the 22. That's what Peterson was trying to do, and just it didn't quite work the way he wanted. It did spook the 22 of Lyday, though. You saw the truck kind of hiccup there for a moment, but they'll continue to be side by side, and Krahula now going to try the 2 trucks faster than 1 strategy. Don't know if it's going to work, though. Back to turn number 1 we go, and Christian Peterson will clear Lyday. Does he try and slide up in front of him this time, or is Lyday going to try the crossover? He'll get there, just not quite close enough.
And the 22 thought about it. It looked like the 4 car thought about it, but nobody dove to the inside, and they were single file that time down the back straightaway. And relatively, I think, a good ending to what could have been easily 3 wide battling, and who knows where it would have gone from that point. But again, Peterson now, he got the spots. He's moved up to 3rd. It's the highest he's been all night, but he cannot let off the gas pedal, both, well, of course, literally, but figuratively as well. He needs to go and try to set his sights at a 19 at Dalton. I know it's not the best strategy when you're trying to hang on to the tires, tires. But if you don't get up to 19, that 22 who's plastered on your back end is going to go up there and do something about it if you're not willing to. The 4 car, same thing. He's pressuring the 22 Alade into putting the pressure on Peterson. And that's why you see these 3 trucks making the moves that they are. And really now a 4-truck battle because they've caught up to Tyler Dalton.
Yeah, they have, and Dalton kind of watching all this in his mirror. He hasn't been using the tires these guys have, Evan, so I think it's going to make it a little bit easier for Dalton to fend him off, but I don't think this is going to Peterson's game plan right now. I think he wanted to be clear of these guys a while ago and still is having to worry. Is Krahula going to get by Lide? Lide falls to P5 there, and Krahula's been actually making that outside line work a little bit for him. Not necessarily through the corner, but the runs he's been getting off the corner have been monumental. Not quite here on the front stretch, but especially coming off of turn number 2.
And that's something, again, we're going to see all night long amongst these drivers. Still a lot going on top to bottom. Out of the 35 trucks who started this, 33 of them are on the lead lap. Only William Roberts Jr. has gotten lap. That's because his truck is currently down on pit road. And I think maybe an issue with him is going to take him out of this race. So other than that, no active trucks have lost a lap. It just goes to show you the pace, but we are going to be there sooner rather than later. Talking about the available tires down pit road, what you are allowed to do with strategy here. 2 sets of 4 tires waiting for you on a pit road. When you look at the grand scheme of things, strategy-wise, in a 125-lap race, you'd have to get a little bit over 40 laps to be able to make it on a 2-stop call. If this race went green, that would be what you would want to do. 4 tires each time. Hard to obviously predict what happens later on in this race, but right now we're at lap number 31, so that's got to be starting to be a topic between the drivers and their crew chiefs, starting to discuss when that is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, Tower confirming that for us as well. As it's getting all sorts of sketchy back here. I went back because I saw about 3 cars that were all within about a 10th or so of each other, and yes, we're once again back to this as it's actually behind him as well. It's just a mess everywhere here, Evan, and it's a unique deal because you would think with Vegas being one of these mile-and-a-halfs built kind of towards the end of the 90s into the 2000s, you know, generally if they all, you know, most of these tracks race very similarly. They don't. Vegas, I think, more than a lot of these other mile-and-a-halfs, just has a lot of pack racing, and it's kind of an odd trait.
Obviously, it used to have a lot less banking, and they bumped it up a few years after this racetrack came into existence, and that's where you got the higher banking. The bottom stayed at 12, but all the way to 20 degrees up top. I think it races a lot like a Chicagoland, which is interesting because, again, those are 2 racetracks that all have their own unique quirks, but it's really nothing like a Charlotte or a Texas. So we tend to group these 1.5-mile racetracks into the same basket, and it is fair to an extent, but again, this is a racetrack that drives differently than all the other ones, and they all have their own little features. Obviously, the bumps down low in 1 and 2. You see, as these drivers have gotten more and more wear on the tires, they're moving up and up and up away from that white line, trying to avoid those because that is what will put you in that turn 2 wall pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. As we go back up front and find out what's going on around Christian Peterson land, and CP's finally been able, I think, to get the air that he wants. Dalton's fallen back to 4th here, so I think the tires have finally started to fall off the 19, but time kind of working to his advantage here because we only have about 5 laps before we're expecting, and Evan, I'm expecting pretty much everybody down at lap 40 or so because you don't want to. I think these guys are going to be worried about short pitting themselves, and somebody's going to try and go super early here. So what I do is maybe 40, 80, and if you can make the rest on fuel, if you can make that extra 5 laps on fuel, you'll be good. If you can make that, of course.
And aside from the if, it's as well if the racing gods are on board with that strategy, because if you commit to that, you're going to come down after we get about 40 laps into this race. You come down, you get your service as the 8-car Randy Oakham caught the fence, and he's really lost off the pace in 14th position. Cost him about 5 spots as he got it going down the Nellis straightaway. But if you go and you commit, you take half of your tires essentially on that first pit stop anywhere between laps 40 and 45, then you've only got 1 set left for the end of the race. Now, if we stay green, you only got 1 more green flag pit stop to come. That's fine. If we start to get yellows late in this race, it can't be okay. We're under yellow. Let's all come down and get tires. That is when things would get really interesting if it comes to it.
If we had a yellow kind of in the middle of that second green flag run, Evan, I'd take my left sides then, and then take the right sides at that final kind of whatever distance it ends up being where you can't make it on fuel. That would be my strategy, just to kind of split it up and give yourself a little bit of advantage, albeit that's assuming that we only have one caution, and we know cautions do breed cautions. I mean, this is a case where if a caution comes out, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to pit under caution.
I'll tell you, that's far from the worst idea that I've heard, and wouldn't be surprised if, again, you talked about some of the teams, the alliances amongst drivers. Obviously, a lot of familiar faces here that may not have raced with each other in a championship esports event before, but, of course, in many of the other series you can find here on a night-by-night basis at LSRTV and iRacing Live, and having obvious discussions. Again, a lot of these drivers, if you're unfamiliar with how the service works, you do get an automatic, an automated, I guess is the word I'm looking for, spotter, like you know, Carhartt, Kylo, but a lot of these drivers have friends in there as a spotter, acting as a crew chief, or even just if they're all in the same radio channel, talking with each other and kind of crowdsourcing strategy, what we think is going to be the best call. And not that things have calmed down all that much. You still see Lide all over the back of Dalton right now.
They really got him there.
He's in 5th. Well, that's the lowest he's been all night, so I think he's getting a little bit desperate, and a 19-4, not all that far in front, so he's in still a very good position, but I don't think we've seen as much 2-3 wide because these drivers are starting to strategize a tad bit. He's let the 19 protect the bottom there. It'll force Lide to the outside.
Yeah, Lide up to the top side now is going to try and get the run off the corner, and he just nearly blew by Tyler Dalton like he was standing still. And oh, by the way, enter into the picture, new fighter amongst everybody. It's the 54 of Kenny Lowry. He's going to jump right behind, and I think this all came about, Evan, because all these guys were grouped up together, and Lowry actually, they're all going to pit this time. Tommy Ryan decided to come down, and that triggered absolutely everybody. Nobody wants to get caught out on old tires.
And you said lap 40, and lap 40, drivers are down to pit road. Will Dravicki going to be the first driver to stay out, so he will go to the race lead. But all of these drivers have a long drive down pit road. Look at the side-by-side with a 19 into 22. John Lade a lot faster as he heads down to the pit lane. But everybody going to get into their box, expecting the call to be 4 tires and fuel. We'll see if anybody wants to be precautious, no, or if someone's going to mix things up and throw a little bit of a strategy plot twist into this thing. But everybody is down into the box. The 42 truck went a little bit deep as he came into the box. That's Ryan Howard a little bit further back. But for the drivers up at the front of the field, cleaning it out, the 6-car Ryan first off.
And one thing to note here, Evan, unlike the RSR, or unlike the Full Throttle RSR Cup Series, these guys have 3 pit boxes in, 3 pit boxes out. Because of the Cup cars, it's 2 in, 2 out on Mondays, but on Sundays they have 3. So it gives them a little bit more room in case they want to gamble a little bit. But everybody looked good, at least for the moment. We'll have to keep an eye out, though. Penalties definitely on the table. If Kyle sees you doing it wrong, you're going to get busted.
That's obviously what race control is looking at now, and I did find it interesting when talking about the 22 truck onto pit road. John Lade was pretty, I mean, and it helped that they were side by side, but he was pretty significantly faster than the 19 of Tyler Dalton. Dalton needed to get down into the pit lane first. He was pit stall number 5 for qualifying in 5th. John Lade pit stall number 2 for qualifying in 2nd, and Lade was on the outside of Dalton. I think Dalton took advantage of that, stayed on the inside as long as he could, forcing John Lade to have to slow down, tuck in line, so he could get all the way to the left-hand side of pit road to get into the box.
Something's wrong with the 19, though, dude.
I was going to say, I think it was working out for him because obviously it would have put him in front, but he was better on pit road, but he has since gotten passed back up.
That truck is only topping out about 177, whereas the 09's doing 177 right now. Something is wrong on that 19 truck, Evan.
And you have to wonder, there's so many things you can do on pit road, and a lot of time it can come down to just simply making a mistake when you try to adjust your settings. Did you get the right amount of tires on that? Did they maybe do something wrong with the tape? There's so many different things that could go wrong, especially talking about the fact that if you have a crew chief, if your crew chief goes to adjust something for you, you go to make an adjustment on your own, and you never know what can happen. So for the 19 of Dalton, we'll see if the 19 is going to be able to get back up to pace. Again, in and out of the pit lane, and I'm not sure that truck was able to successfully get tires changed. We'll have to see for the 19.
Unless, can they make it from fuel from here?
And just completely skip the tires?
And yeah, completely cut out pit stop number 2.
Seems like a long way. You're talking with drivers down pit road at lap 40, so we're looking at 60 65 laps to the end of the lap 100, so 85 laps? A lot of laps. And again, well, and something else to keep in mind is as well, even if you could theoretically do it just based on that alone, you're going to be going very slowly. We talked about the tire fall off. Best lap of the race that your current race leader, Christian Peterson, has put down. By the way, of course, Peterson up front through the cycle of pit stops. Obviously, we're still in the middle of green flag pit stops. But the last lap, best lap, sorry, Peterson put down was a 31.2. The fall off wasn't that bad, 32.6. before pit stop. So he did lose a little bit more than a second. I'm not sure that's enough fall off, though, that would lead it to the point where even if you could negate coming down pit road, somebody could pit, get fresh tires, and catch you just based on the speed difference. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but that would be quite the gamble for somebody who I don't think was in a position that they needed to gamble. And I can see that coming from somebody in the teens or the 15s or so, but for somebody who's running top 5, that would be quite the roll of the dice if he didn't have to make it.
And maybe it was just a slip-up or something on track, Evan, because he was down on momentum for a couple laps there. He seems to be good now, looking at the speed of the truck versus everybody else, so I think he's good to go. But yeah, that definitely threw me for a little bit of a loop there early, but everything looks screwed on correctly now for the 19, but he did definitely lose time as he's back to P7, dealing with James Carroll in front of him, and now Bo Givens, who's done an excellent job working his way through the field and up to that P8 spot after starting 19th, plus 11 spots for the 07.
Exactly what it is to do. That's Bo Givens, one of the bigger movers tonight, even behind him. The drivers he's racing with, Dean plus 21 positions. Drury also plus 21 positions. Of course, though, again, in the middle of pit stops as we wait for everybody to come down and complete their service. The one risk about obviously pitting towards the back of the pack at the green flag pit stops, and not even short pitting, but just not stretching it out, is you're going to be a lap down for quite some time. We have about 6-7 trucks down a lap right now that were not a lap down just based on speed alone. It's a combination of running towards the back of the pack and, of course, the green flag pit stops. Cross, Yoko, Adams, Hussey, and Mason, and Dravicki all one lap down at the moment. A yellow flag in the middle of a cycle of pit stops like this would not be very good news for those drivers.
And Dravicki and Watkins, Dravicki running 32nd and Watkins 33rd, both of those, remember, Evan, they got pit road penalties, so they had to come down a second time. They drove through too many boxes, so Dravicki back to 32nd. He's still... yeah, he's 2 laps down right now, as is Jeremy Watkins, who's actually 3 laps down. So both of these guys in big-time trouble. And if this race goes all the way green, which it's starting to give me that little bit of a feeling here, Evan, might have just jinxed it. We'll have to make sure that didn't happen. But nonetheless, they're not looking particularly good right now.
And well, the funny thing is, again, we do our best to track the strategy. What do the drivers think, and how is it going to play out? And it's all theoretical until you get a caution or, you know, something. And obviously, the timing of the caution matters a lot. If you get a yellow, everybody pits 5 laps later, it doesn't really matter. You get a yellow in the middle of a green flag pit stops, it completely changes things. And that's what makes it a competitive race. I mean, to an extent, I don't think that it would be as exciting if everything was guaranteed and you knew that you'd go green all the way. Obviously, drivers come into the race and come to that first green flag with the intentions of running a race without a yellow. Even at a place like Martinsville, where you expect it to happen, everybody's got their number. Now, obviously, that number, when you're going to pit, how you're going to be able to strategize and save to the end, how hard you push, and all those good things, that adjusts as the night goes on. Nobody will complain if they don't have to break out the calculator and recalculate things. It's definitely what weighs on the mind of everybody over the course of the night, and I don't know if they're any more comfortable in this race going green all the way right now than they were at the start. I think that risk is always just as high. This is a big field here tonight. You're going to have difficulties, I think, finding a spot on the racetrack that doesn't have at least somebody there, and anytime you're around some other trucks doing nearly 180 miles an hour, nothing is guaranteed.
Well, I'll tell you what, Evan, it's definitely hot out here in the Las Vegas desert, and it's always nice when you're living out in the desert, as you do, to have a little bit of a pool for you to go to, but there's one place in particular that can help you outfit that place, that pool that you got, and that's American Pool Supply, and coverage of the American Pool Supply Truck Series is brought to you by American Pool Supply of Las Vegas. American Pool Supply has been serving Las Vegas Valley and St. George, Utah pool service companies for over 45 years. We distribute pool products from all major manufacturers, stock concrete, plumbing, and we are an exclusive distributor for PPG Chemicals. Our people are amongst the most knowledgeable in the pool industry and help our customers choose the best pool products for their needs. We are a foundation for the pool business to all of the customers we serve. That's American Pool Supply, the title sponsor for the CEA American Pool Supply Truck Series.
It's the second race of the season. If you're just tuning in with us, second race of this 2018 American Pool Supply Truck Series. It opened a week ago, Daytona International Speedway. Christian Peterson going to victory lane. This is round number 2 of 24 on what is going to be a long season. We hope you're with us next time out. We do have next Sunday off, and the week after that, on March the 25th, we will be with you from the Iowa Speedway for a 175-lap affair. Of course, more information on this series and everything else Championship Esports online at championshipesports.com. And Christian Peterson, speaking of which, Cisco's still out in front of the field here. We talked about how things would definitely cycle through this green flag pit cycle, and Peterson has pretty much solidified himself up front. William Kempf has had an incredibly quiet night, considering the fact that he started this race in 6th position. He's up there in P2. Both of those drivers were able to get in front of John Lade through all of it.
And he's also your highest running Toyota in what is a sea of Chevrolets right now. You got him. Oh, actually, Peterson going to come down pit road.
Lade as well.
Interesting.
22 cars coming down as well. John Lade just jumped down from 3rd position, so William Kempf is going to go to the race lead, and John Lade down for a second time.
And that tells me, Evan, I wonder if they hit their fuel number.
And now they're going to come down and get that. Do you think they go for the tires and go 0-4 and have nothing left for the last 60, 70 laps of this race?
These guys are banking on it going green the rest of the way. If they're just going into fuel. No, actually, no. CP just going to take fuel only.
Looked like fuel only as well for Lade.
Do you think they short-filled on accident, or is this a splash and go?
If it's a splash to fill up and get all the way, I would think you would want tires, because if you're going to go half this race on fuel, you're obviously not going to be able to come down at all to get any more fresh tires. There is a risk, though, I will say. If you take 4 tires now, you have nothing for a late race yellow and a restart. But I would have thought at least go for 2. But they did get tires. I mean, tires was 15, 20 laps ago, so they have not been on the tires they have on board for that long. Maybe it's just that fuel number kind of falls in an awkward position where you would like them, but I'm not sure it would make that big of a difference because they're not that old at the moment.
No, and I'm wondering, Evan, if this is a case where they can't make that extra 5 laps, so they come down here, do the splash and dash now, so that way on your final pit stop, you just put tires on the truck and you're gone.
That would help them if we do get a late race yellow in this one, because it looked like neither of those drivers took tires. But talking about the group that I had mentioned earlier, laps down, these drivers are now off of the lead lap. Christian Peterson is in fact the first driver 1 lap down. You're going to have to catch up to Derek Paulson, who is all the way through 1 and 2. And as we say that, a caution flag is going to come out.
I think the Michael Held machine, the 33, looks slow when I cut to him, so I'll have to bring up a replay, figure out what happened. He was coming off pit road. I'm not sure it was with him, Evan. We'll have to find out. We'll follow him around here.
He'll spin it right here on the flat. This is something that I've done many times at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Yep. He loses it a little bit. He gets sideways and does a good job of keeping it out of the fence, but spins it around, triggers the yellow, and just like that, the drivers who finally decided to make their call and come down pit road got a lap down, and just 2 laps later, yellow flag is out.
It's not interesting that Held drives for Vincier. Just point that out. And the 2 drivers who that's going to help out massively just so happen to be drivers for Vincier. If you want to put your tinfoil hats on, of course.
Well, you were talking about if it's hot out there, I guess your arm could get itchy in the suit.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to find out. That'll definitely be a interesting call, though, for league admin Kyle Barnes, because that... Yeah, I'm just, you know what, let's just close the book on it and let Kyle make the call on that one.
And I don't think Peterson's going to be in all that bad of a position, because he will get the lucky dog at worst case scenario. But John Lade is the 3rd truck 1 lap down, and just because there's so much going on to his strategy, I don't see everybody pitting. He might not be able to just take a wave by, because that would involve, or it would require, all lead lap cars to come down pit road so he could get up to the back of the pace car and then go back around. And we see obviously the lucky dog go to Christian Peterson. He goes on to buy the pace car. Behind the pace car right now, though, is Dustin Turnage, who's on pit road, and then looks like Reese Baum, John Lade, Forbes, Ryan. So I think those 5 or 6 trucks are in front of the lap cars, or the lead lap cars, I should say, and I think they will end up getting back to the lead lap on this one. So, could have been worse. Obviously, nobody wants to get kicked back into the high teens and low 20s after you're running inside of the top 5, but it looks like they'll be able to get back to the lead lap by the time they go back green.
Yeah, so that's going to make life a little bit easier for them. But for William Kempf, talk about a driver who's been at it today. Like you mentioned, quiet night so far, but, you know, 6th up to 1st now, has had to battle some really tough competition to get up there. And how about Gus Dean, who's basically been through the wars today, started 30th and is now running 2nd. So a very, very long day for that 14 truck, Evan, but doing a good job so far.
And he's the biggest mover, as you said. He ends up at about plus 26 positions by the time this one is all said and done, as we work under the yellow flag here at the halfway point, and just waiting to get a confirmation on who all is going to get waved around here by the time the lights go out on top of the pace car. Again, all the lap down trucks should be able to get waved back around. The problem is, though, now your race leader William Kempf is tucked up behind him. So you saw Reese Baum come down pit road. Lade is still staying out there, and we will see if they do give him the wave by or not. But I think the fact that your race leader Kempf, who stayed out noticeably when Kempf was running in 2nd position, and we saw Peterson and Lade 1st and 3rd pit. He was in 2nd, stayed out, went to the race lead, and because he did not decide to come down and get any additional service under this caution flag, that might be what traps a good number of trucks a lap down. Right now, 18th through 31st position are a lap off of the lead lap.
Yeah, and talk about some of the guys whose this is going to benefit, all those trucks being a lap down. Someone like a Tyler Lugo Vickery or James Krahula, a Kyle Manger as well up there, Bo Givens. You know, yes, these are drivers who've been working their way through the field, but if you want to talk about, you know, a driver who needs a run like this, Evan, go no further than Lugo Vickery, because he did not have the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series that he wanted, struggled a lot, was not happy with his performance at all. A good run here at Vegas could be the tipping point for what could be a great season for him in the trucks.
And you always want to start things off strong. At any point, though, you have a good run, and I think it kind of re-energizes you. A lot of drivers would refer to this race as the season opener, because Daytona is, well, Daytona. And, you know, we see so much of the Super Speedway racing here on Friday nights with the Southwest Construction Super Speedway Cup Series. It is its own animal compared to what I would consider the rest of the calendar to be. And a lot of things at Daytona pretty much out of your control. Tonight, though, is where you could start a serious play for a good finish in the championship this season. So let's go out on top of the iRacing official pace car, and this race is going to get back into green flag conditions, and the number is going to be 17 trucks on the lead lap. Christian Peterson did get the lucky dog, and it was waved around. He rejoins everybody on the lead lap in 17th. John Lade will stay stuck a lap down. He is in 18th position, along with what looks like about 14 other trucks, courtesy when that yellow flag came out in the middle of a couple of different cycles. In fact, a green flag pit stops over the course of this race. So crossing the halfway point in the American Pool Supply 125 from Las Vegas. These cars could go down and in. Only one caution flag in the opening half as we begin to count down towards the end. Do we see something similar, or is this going to be a completely different ball game? Watch obviously up front. It was a great battle for the race lead out of the get-go, but mid-pack as well is going to be an exciting one to keep an eye on here as the pace car heads down and in. Unlike the start of this race, though, control car on the own out of William Kempf has a lot more freedom on when he wants to restart this race. Look for the restart box at a racetrack and look for the 09 to try to get a jump and get out in front of the 1-4 at Dustin Dean on the outside. A little bit of a bobble, but there he goes. And American Ethanol green flag flies. We're back underway.
Yeah, back underway here from Vegas, and great start for Kemp there. Absolutely got Dean. I think Dean was sleeping a little bit, and as a result, going to possibly go 3 wide there for a moment, but will be under attack from Bo Givens. The 07 down to the inside, and Manger looking for his way through as well. Is he going to make it 3 wide? He could. I don't think he will, though. Going to sit behind, at least for the moment, right on the rear deck to the 14, and just cut the nose off. It didn't work. 07 up the track as the 25 hits the 54. All sorts of craziness coming out of the corner, and we're 3 wide for third.
It was a very aggressive drive for the 07 Givens. You can see him back there 4 wide inside of the top 10, and somehow everybody hangs on. No, there they go. The 24 are going to get tagged. That is Vickery, and he'll save it for the time being. Everybody scatters at a turn number 2, but I think this race is still green.
I don't know how they saved it back there. We'll take a second look at that here in a moment, but that was absolutely insane, Evan, as we pull up the replay. You don't think 4 wide works at Vegas, and it nearly didn't, but Vickery, a heck of a drive to be able to hold on to that truck there.
You see that 4 wide again with that 07 who lost a ton of speed, and what you were just talking about, Vickery looking for a good run here tonight. Just so much speed on the inside, and the 27, I think, thought the 24 was going to keep coming down, so he tried to sidestep, go up and above him, tagged Vickery. It was a good save, and you can see that damage that the 24 machine got on the left rear quarter panel. It's obviously hurting that truck a little bit as he's falling now down to 14th position. But the important thing is this race stays green, and look at the fight right now for second position. 3 wide again off for the restart from Las Vegas. Inside line, that is Seth the Merchant looking to be the big winner. He wants to go 4th to 2nd. He's got both of them.
Yes, he does, and meanwhile, Krahula was able to snag away 1st position. So what started out as a great restart for William Kempf is already starting to backfire. It's going to be 3 Tundras side by side, and no, not quite 3 wide, but Brock Drury sends it to the inside. Excellent run for him, and as they come out of turn number 4 across the start-finish line, Drury going to be up in that 3rd position, and now side by side behind him between Kempf and Dean.
Dean in that number 14 machine has been in a couple of these fights tonight, but mostly mid-pack. Can that truck have been taking advantage of good strategy, a lot of speed, and a little bit of fortunate luck with the Tom of the yellow flank, and he hang on with these guys inside of the top 5? You saw the 54 Lowry driving up the inside of the racetrack. He wants to get on the inside of Kempf, as Kempf got passed up by Dean. Dean now at a race high P4, and is now plus 26 spots tonight.
Yeah, Dean having one heck of a run out here. Both Drury and Dean have driven the wheels off their trucks to get up to the front here, and the caution definitely helping them out as well as looking through your field. Lens, lots of trucks all over the place. I saw kind of back in your pack. Yep, that's what I was looking for right there. A little bit of a battle around the 87. What's left of the Vickery machine. He's still out there and trying to hold on to that lead lap position right now as he's having to deal with lap trucks. That 95 down on the inside. That's a lap truck down there as well as the trucks behind him. It's crazy out here, man. They're 3 wide back here in your lap battles as well, because that's Peterson trying to work his way from getting the EOL after the Lucky Dog.
And he's trying to get up through the field quickly. This is exactly what we talked about him doing as well. Off at the start of this race, we're 3 wide down the Dallas straightaway. I think that was the number 87 machine or somebody dropping out of the middle of that one. Had nothing to do with it. It'll help out Peterson, who has still scored as the last truck on the lead lap. Because again, he got the Lucky Dog, that's good, but he was behind all the lap traffic. So now he's just starting to get up to the lap cars that are on the same lap as him. First battle for position would be with the 87. Matthew Murphy.
That was contact right in front of these guys, and that was held. Got a little bit of a tag there from the 27 of Kilo, and they were able to hold on to it there as well. Just saw it out of the corner of my eye, but they were able to hold on to it as well. And meanwhile, side by side for that 9th place position, that's Nick Caldwell, or 8th position rather. Caldwell versus Derek Paulson. They'll be close at the line there. That was about half a truck length or so, and they're side by side going back to turn number 1.
This is that mid-pack stuff that we were talking about. We saw it early, was expecting to see it here, and these drivers are aware we went the first 60 laps of this race with 1 yellow. That means we could go to the final now. As we work lap number 73 in this race, we could easily go the final 50 laps of this race with 1, if not any more yellows, and stay green to the end. So obviously, that sense of urgency has come to the forefront. A little bit of a bad exit out of 4 for Caldwell, and he goes 7 to Bo Givens. Going to come up the inside for a fight for P9. But it is much more than just those 2 trucks. They are side by side, 3 rows deep, and 3 wide now with a 22 up the middle.
He just sent it straight through the middle there, did Lyde, and Lyde trying to get his lap back the hard way or something like that, because he absolutely threaded the needle through all of those trucks. So a very fast 22, just a bad situation for Lyde.
On the 07, he pushed up second time since the restart. Givens has gotten really tight like that on corner exit. The 22 was lucky to sneak on by, and Lade is now the 5th driver running 1 lap down in that battle for the lucky dog position. Always an interesting dynamic when you have lap down trucks racing with the lead lap trucks and such, and no surprise to see this. That's exactly what you get when you get a yellow in the middle of the green flag pit stops. And now that we have at least a split second to catch our breaths, want to bring Trevin back into the booth here with us. Trevin, only 1 yellow through 76 elapsed laps, and that's one way to say it, from Las Vegas, but it has been a great race so far. James Krahula's in control by 1.7 seconds, but no shortage on the racetrack right now of fighting.
Absolutely, this race has been spectacular to watch all night long. One caution, he said these guys know what they're doing. They're able to keep their ground, and they're able to take positions that aren't really there to take, but they see a little opening, and they just take it, as you see right now. That would be the number 48 machine of Morano, taking it away from the 03 of Billy Turngate, and trying to go into, or excuse me, that's number 30 of a lot down car, so that's not really for position, but now we're coming down 2x2 for the back straightaway. But these guys have really just seen an opening and kind of forced their way into it, and that's just what makes this racing so amazing to watch. There's really nothing else that these drivers can do, and it's just amazing to watch all night long. And I'm sure that they can make it the rest of the way without a caution, but if they keep on racing like this, it's going to be pretty close.
Obviously, you mentioned it's been all Krahula up front. Last time I saw, it was a 1.8 second advantage for him, but problems with your race leader, James Krahula, is just, I believe James Krahula's received a throughput fall to an unacceptable level. Your race leader, leading by nearly 2 seconds into the closing laps, has just dropped out of the session, and all of a sudden, Seth the Merchant will be gifted the race lead, who is running second at the time. So a terrible break for James Krahula. Basically the sim racing equivalency to a mechanical failure. He'll try to get back on track. If he does, we'll let you know, but Krahula has just dropped out of this race, and you're seeing that right at the top of your screen. Seth the Merchant now leading this thing, with Brock Drury only 3/10 off at a number 2 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really unfortunate. You know, I saw him having a little bit of trouble, but you know, you got to work with what you got, and now Seth the Merchant taking over that top spot. Started 7th, now has technically raced his way up to 1st, so we'll have to watch that and see if James Krahula can come back in and finish off the race and get some points. But now we got a little bit spread out, and you know, this is one of these tracks that it's known for a single file, and you saw earlier the leader just checking out before this caution, and the pits really threw a wrench into that, and now we have Seth the Merchant doing the same thing.
I was thinking that maybe with the Merchant taking over the race lead, it might have woke Brock Drury up, because he wasn't that far off of the bumper as you look out the back end of the 57 to the Dada Drury right there in the P2. Drury is the biggest mover on the race tonight. Started 31st. He runs in 2nd position, so he's gone up 29 spots over the course of this race, and he's not losing a lot. Last time by to Merchant, 32.223 compared to a .328 for Drury, but if you're losing a 10th per lap, you're not going to win a race against Seth the Merchant as he closes in on what is shortly going to be 40 laps to go in this one. So Drury's got to figure something out, because we think everybody after that yellow midway could make it to the end of this race on fuel. Obviously, if there's a yellow flag, drivers would come down pit road to get the one set of tires that a majority of the field still have available. But aside from that, Brock Drury could be looking at the chance for the race win or run it off into the sunset.
I was watching the standings and saw the number 09 of William Kemp falling back quickly, so I took a look, and he's down pit road. It doesn't look to be tires or fuel. It may be damaged, but we'll have to keep an eye on that as we're watching him. He did take tires. He's taking left side tires and right side tires, so that's a little longer stop than usual. It took a little longer to get the car jacked up, but he is off and away with his two jacks for the race.
That's going to be it for the 09 car. William Kemp fitting out, and an interesting, again, timing, because we talked about how much these drivers want to, at all costs, avoid getting stuck a lap down? Well, he voluntarily puts himself a lap down, the first driver on this run, notably, I guess, to come down and get fresh rubber in the closing laps of this race from Vegas. Didn't get a chance to on that restart because of everything that was going on, but as we've said a couple of times, we've crossed the halfway point in this race, and a lot has changed in the last 20 laps, so let's take this opportunity to take a look at your iRacing midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing for the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Global Rallycross, and many more. At lap number 85 with 40 laps to go, Seth the Merchant is your race leader from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You see big mover Brock Drury running right now in the number 2 spot. Kenny Lowry actively in 3rd position on the racetrack as well. You've got Kyle Anger in 4th and Derek Paulson rounding out the top 5. Tom Morano runs in 6th position. Nicholas Caldwell is 7th. Christian Peterson runs in 8th spot. Billy Tungate is 9th. And Johnny McNaughton rounds out your top 10.
P11 goes to Tyler Lugo Vickery. P12 goes to Matthew Murphy. P13 and your final car on the lead lap at David Kilthrow. P14 goes to Tommy Ryan. That's your first car lap down. He started first, but now P14. P15 goes to Tyler Dalton. P16 Ryan Howard. P17 Dwight Beverly. P18 John Lyday. P19 goes to Dustin Dean, and P20 goes to Will Jaricki.
This still continues to list the trucks a lap down. In fact, all the way to 28th, still down a lap, but 21st is CJ Mason. 22nd position, 21st, Turnage, as I said, 22nd, then that's Eric Forbes. See the names there. Christopher Hussey is 23rd, with Reese Baum in 24th, and Bo Givens in 25th. 26th spot is Dustin Dean, again, somebody that we were talking about being in the conversation for the race win earlier tonight, way down the ladder. Sean Cross is behind him at 27th as the last truck 1 lap down, and then 2 laps down from this point. 28th position William Kemp, Timothy Adams 29th, and 30th Randy Oakham.
31st goes to Jeremy Watkins. 32nd goes to Michael Heald. The 33rd goes to James Krahula, your race leader a few laps ago, but now falling all the way down to P33. 34 goes to William Roberts Jr., and P35 goes to Paul Henley.
Those last 2 trucks, Roberts and Henley, off track. James Krahula is back on track, but as you said, he is 8 laps down and well out of a conversation now for even just trying to get out of this one with a decent amount of points. That's a look though at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And thanks to our friends at Red Bull Global Rallycross, you can visit iRacing.com/membership and use the promo code PR-GRC for an opportunity to start your career on iRacing with a 3-month subscription for only $5. Again, that's promo code PR-GRC, and it is valid on new iRacing memberships only. More information at iRacing.com/membership. With just like that though, lap number 90 in the works from Las Vegas. Seth the Merchant's lead has about doubled since we started to take a look through the field. It's now 1.5 seconds between him and Brock Drury in second. To take a look at Rahula right now, we're running in 33rd position. We've got pit stops, so Brock Drury is coming in from 2nd position. He'll give up the number 2 spot. The 99 Trevin down pit road. Would expect him to take his last set of tires as well.
We'll watch him as he pulls into his pit stall. Has to back up a little bit as he goes in a little far, and we'll see if his car gets jacked up. Watching him very closely as these guys only get 2 jacks per race, so we're going to have to watch that. I believe he's already taken 1, so we're going to be looking for the other one. No, he does not, as now he's pulling out of the pits, coming down pit lane.
The 99 car in and out, and he'll take those 4 tires, and it's going to be it for him. So I have to question now, the question we were asking ourselves before that yellow came out is, was the pit stop only 20 laps after drivers were down? Was that going to be it? Were they happy on fuel? And look at the Merchant. Cuts up on the 83 machine. Sean Cross, a lap car, just got absolutely used up by your race leader, Seth the Merchant. Lucky that that truck checked up for him, or the Merchant would have been wrecked into the fence. But we were talking about, could he make it on fuel? With a string of trucks now coming down pit road, Trevin, not sure we do have that number in sight. That's about 2 drivers, 3 now, in fact, for the top 10 that have pitted under green for 4 tires and fuel. The number of trucks a lap down now has extended to the top 9 now. Only 9 trucks are on the lead lap, 10th on back off of the lead lap.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, how are they going to make it on field with all these drivers coming down? But Seth Merchant seems to be rolling the dice, making a big gamble here in Las Vegas. So I was watching Tyler Lugo Vickery, seeing if he was going to come down this time by. It seemed to be slowing up, but the number 11 car behind him kind of bumped into him and kind of messed up his entrance if he was planning on going into pit lane. Or excuse me, that's the number 71 machine behind him. As you see, a little bit of damage to the rear bumper of the 24 of Lugo Vickery. There was some damage there, but he has just added onto it, and possibly some front end damage for the number 71.
Hopefully it's not all that bad for Turnage. You know, we were talking about the likes of Tommy Ryan and some other drivers, John Lottie in specific, trying to become the first drivers one lap down, because that's how Christian Peterson was able to stay in this race until he came down pit road. We're only waiting now on DeMerchant, Lowry, Morano, and Lugo Vickery to pit, as we're down to 4 trucks in a lead lap. But Peterson was able to get into a good position by getting that lucky dog. The problem for the likes of Lyde and other drivers here is they're never going to get to the lucky dog position, because every time somebody pits, they go a lap down, they end up slotting themselves in front of him. So it's no longer, I just need 2 more spots to become the first truck lap down. It's 3, and then 4, and 5, and that's how Lyde in 9th position stays trapped down there. But assuming that everybody cycles through pit stops, that means the 57 of DeMerchant in first, the 54 of Lowry in second, the 48 of Morano in third, and the 24 of Lugo Vickery in fourth. If they all pit all of a sudden, all the cars 1 lap down are lead lap trucks, and if that happens, we'll have 23 of them fighting for position, which would definitely change things up once more as we look at the clock now and see inside of 30 laps to go.
Yeah, it would change everything up with 23 cars battling for 1 spot on the track, and you know, you got less than 35 laps, as you said. These cars would just be absolutely crazy, just like we saw in the previous restart, and they were barely able to hang on to it coming into turn 1. So just to add on to that would be amazing, but we're going to have to see where this goes with these 4 cars doing a different kind of pit strategy.
And at the start of the night, it was pretty cut and dry. Drivers 2 stops to be able to get to the end of this race. That would use up all sets of the 4 tires you have available, because again, at the start of this race, drivers were told you only have 2 sets of 4 tires on pit road. It worked pretty good, mathematically speaking. You see Ryan Howard now coming down pit road from 1 lap down in 5th position. So he'll now drop 2 laps down, as he needs to get a little bit more Sunoco race fuel to get to the end of this race. The advantage that somebody like DeMerchant has, being 9 seconds in front, is if the fuel number is anywhere remotely close to being plausible, he has tons of real estate to feather, if not just coast that race truck around for a good amount of time, and could probably save a small handful of laps on fuel if it came down to it. But I don't see DeMerchant backing off at all, and what that would tell me is that he is committed to this, and probably need fuel to get to the end of it, because he's not looking like he's saving. So he's either good or he's not close.
Yeah, absolutely, and Seth DeMerchant still pulling away from Kenny Lowry, 9.4 seconds now. Kenny's gonna have to make something happen, or just hold his ground if he wants some points. But Seth DeMerchant absolutely dominating the field, more like Kevin Harvick was the other week. But now we have just 4 cars still on the lead lap, and from 5th all the way to, I believe it's 18th, we have 1 lap down cars, but we have a little bit of a cluster on the backstretch, as the number 3 is going to go below Seth DeMerchant and trying to get past him with fresher tires.
That's Miginaka. He'll go from 2 laps down to 1 lap down. You see the 71 machine hot on his tail as well. That's Dustin Turnage, who is going to go from 3 laps down to 2 laps down. So that 3-truck battle for a moment was between drivers on all different laps from one another, with obviously DeMerchant still leading the way. Lowry, Morano now the only drivers on the lead lap, because Tyler Lugo Vickery on pit road. The 24 truck is in. He's going for the tires. Left side's up, going to go as well. And Tyler Lugo Vickery is out of the box. Pretty clean stop in and out. He takes his final set of available tires on the night. And there were 3 still waiting on the top 3 to come down to the pit lane. It looks like Kenny Lowry's coming in. Here comes the 54 car from second position. Very easy onto pit road, though. Not the most efficient way down as far as talking about trying to save some time, but Kenny Lowry did not want to make any mistakes. He took it really easy, and he's on pit road, expecting him to do 4 as well.
Yeah, you gotta get in fast on a green flag pit stop, because you can't really be affording to waste time. But you know, maybe he just wants to make sure he gets it good and not be able to make a mistake like that as he has to back up into it. That's a lot of times that we've seen that happen tonight. Right sides go up as well as the left side, so 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel to make it to the end for him. I'm thinking Seth the Merchant is waiting for a caution, quite possibly. No, he's on his way down into pit lane. Here he comes, coming into his pit stall. Clean stop, and we'll see what kind of tires he takes. Right sides are up, excuse me, and back down, and waiting to see if he's also going to take the left side. The left side's up for 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco race fuel for him as well. Now we're going to start seeing cars come back on the lead lap.
And some of the trucks that were 1 lap down have to pit as well, so they are obviously, some of them going to fall off. But all of a sudden, look for the number of cars on the lead lap, rather, to about quadruple at minimum, because Seth the Merchant is going to get back out there. The drivers that he's really focused on now were the drivers that he had pitted with, those that had stayed out onto the lead lap. I mentioned Christian Peterson, who was able to get back onto the lead lap. You see the 23 car side by side with the Merchant. The big advantage now, though, for the drivers who just pitted is the fresh tires. They've got brand new rubber. It'll take maybe a lap or so for that 57 machine to get up to speed, but once he does, you'll notice Seth the Merchant and those other drivers, as he's able to get back up on front of Christian Peterson. If he can get the pass here in a minute, you see Peterson out in front of him. That is when they will try to start marching their way through the field. Tom Morano, also the 48 truck, he's your race leader. You see that at the top of the screen. He is now coming down pit road, maybe one of the final lead lap trucks that had to come in. He might be the one that completes the entire cycle.
Yes, he is, and watching Tom Morano come down into his pit stall. Right sides go up. Let's see if the left sides do as well. Watching it happen live, as you see. And left sides do go up, so 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for him to make it to the end. So that's some fresh rubber as well. Now, all pit stops are completed. So now we have currently 15 cars back on the lead lap.
Found it interesting that we saw less mistakes on this cycle of the green flag pit service than actually what we saw on the only cycle of yellow flag service tonight. Saw a couple of drivers overshoot the box there. I think more times than not on this run of green flag pit stops, everybody was relatively clean in and out. So Brock Drury has cycled through to the race lead here tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Drury up at the front of the field right now. He has come down and obviously taken his available pit stops. This is the first time all night that he has gotten up in front of the field for the 99 of Drury. He's been up in the conversation, worked his way to the top 10, got the yellow, solidified himself a position inside of the top 5, but he has not led in this race until just now. He's short pitted on this strategy, came down pit road at lap number 90. So he has the oldest of the fresh tires, but they are still good rubber nonetheless. He is down the Nellis straightaway now into turn 3. Seth the Merchant is coming out of turn number 2. That is the battle between first and second position, an interval right now that sits at 5.5 seconds.
And even though it's 5.5 seconds, do not count Seth the Merchant out. He is such a fantastic racer. I'm sure he's going to be able to knock that off, but how long will that take? He absolutely will, but we have less than 20 laps to go. So he's going to have to go. He's already knocked off 0.7 of a second, so we'll have to see if he has enough time.
Just taking a look at lap times. Last time was a 31.596 for the Merchant. That was much faster than the 32.325 out of the Brock Drury camp. So at that pace, Seth the Merchant will catch him inside of 20 laps to go from Las Vegas. You can see that live counter behind the leader down to 4.4 seconds. And we talked about that apron, how he neglected to use it earlier, saving the tires. He has no interest in trying to make these tires last long. All he's going to do is make sure they go the 20 laps that he needs, and he continues to walk it in. The thing that I think might help out Drury is the fact that Seth the Merchant is not on his own. He would have to get by lap car Tom Morano, who just got fresh tires. If you remember, the 48 is not for position, but that would be the first truck the Merchant would catch, and that truck is arguably as fast, if not faster than him, because of the fresh tires. Then there's Dustin Dean, then there's Timothy Adams, Randy Yoakum, and then Brock Drury. So there are 4 trucks in between to Merchant and Drury. All those trucks are going to do is slow down the 57.
Yeah, they are, but you know, you gotta find your way around that as quick as possible. that's the part of racing with a whole bunch of other cars on track. You have to learn how to deal with lap traffic ahead of you and find yourself a way around them the quickest if they're not moving out of their way. But it seems that everybody is racing single file for the most part, with the exception of the 3 cars ahead of the car that's lap down. But I'm sure Seth the Merchant will be able to have talks with these cars and say, hey, let me by, I need to get by, don't block me up. But then again, you never know with lap cars.
And that's the tough thing, predicting where they're going to go. And obviously the battle for the race lead is what we're following. 3 seconds now, the gap between the top 2. That's the 99 Jury. He is your race leader. Seth the Merchant still trying to chase him down to 2.3 seconds. Seth is coming, but he's in the middle of a hornet's nest. And 3 wide for the 57 Merchant. Split the lap trucks. He's on the inside. He will clear the gate up top. That was the lap entry of Randy Yoakum. And Seth the Merchant now only has to get around Tom Moreno before he gets to Brock Drury. And the 48 car and fresher tires might even pass Drury before the Merchant has to worry about getting to him. Seth the Merchant's in a fantastic spot. This is by far not the only battle on the lead lap. Tires are going to play effect on if Christian Peterson can hang on to 3rd over Kyle Major. That's something we'll keep an eye on as well. But the battle for the race lead is on the horizon.
Absolutely, and I was watching that Seth the Merchant start to set these lap cars up, and I kind of held my breath because he was looking down low, and that car just kept on going down low. So at the last second into turn 1, he had to fight that wheel to go up the hill a little bit and split that gap. That was a fantastic a massive maneuver by Seth the Merchant to get around these cars and find a way around. But now he's knocked it down to 1.1 seconds down to the race lead. This is a great race for the end, coming to 10 laps to go.
And the big thing that you saw there was the fact that Drury did get passed by Moreno. I thought if anybody was going to give the Merchant the hardest of a time, it was Moreno's entry. He's able to get back onto the lead lap as he runs to the 14th position. But there are no more lap trucks separating them. That's it. The 57 of the Merchant, he's got his target set on a Brock Drury. The interval down now to half a second in the battle for the race win from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Going to be 10 laps to go next time by. And Drury's going to need help soon because the Merchant is coming in hot.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that gap all the way closed down. He's going to have to find a line to defend, and Seth the Merchant's going to have to find a line to get around him. But for the most part, these guys are doing that same line. You might see some mirror driving done by Brock Drury, but it doesn't look like it. Seth the Merchant down below into turn number 1. Better tires, and there he goes. Set and sail now. Coming out of turn number 2, new leader, Seth the Merchant.
And I knew he was quick, but that was a crisp pass. Brock Drury didn't even dare step in front of the 57 Chevrolet the Merchant. He is gone, and he is going to try to run away with this thing. His biggest fear, I'm sure, was getting a yellow before Drury would have been able to hold him off. And the 99 looks like he'll get passed up by another lap truck. That's Eric Forbes, who is trying to get back to 1 lap down. Right now he runs 2 laps down in 25th. That's the 95 Exalta entry, so that is not a truck that is battling for position. But that 99 Machida Drury, and you have to give him a tip of the cap, Trevin, even if this does not end up in victory lane for him. And the Epilepsy Foundation Toyota Tundra started this race in 31st position, and at worst, I don't think he's going to fall back to Peterson unless he has a major issue. Peterson's 5 seconds behind him in 3rd spot. For Brock Drury to end the night plus 29, I think has to be considered basically a win.
Absolutely. I was just about to touch up on that. Starting 31st and battling your way all the way to 1st, leading a handful of laps before it being taken away by Seth the Merchant, unfortunately. But finishing 2nd, like you said, that's a personal victory. I would consider that a victory, but as long as he doesn't have a big mishap, he's good to go, and that's a fantastic run by that number 99 of Brock Drury.
He was able to lead 27 laps in front of the field before he got passed by Seth the Merchant. So Drury got 12 laps led total. Peterson has led 13 tonight. Other lap leaders, notably the 26 of Tyler Lugo Vickery. But Seth the Merchant is going to come up just shy of eclipsing him for the most laps led. Seth the Merchant has led 28 at the moment so far. And he passed him, 2-3 laps ago, Trevin. Seth the Merchant's already 1.6 seconds. And now, by the time he gets to the line this time, he'll be 2 seconds in front. So Seth the Merchant obviously took what the strategy call was for everybody. 5 laps to go next time by, but he pitted with everybody else. It was Drury who made the strategy call. Short pitted by 15 laps. He knew that it was going to be the likes of the Merchant on the fresher tires late. But what he had hoped for was that the fresher tires sooner for him would have built him up a gap. And it did. When Seth the Merchant left pit road, he was about 7 seconds behind. It's not going to be enough. But Brock Drury, again, should be safe in P2 for the time being. Maybe a fight for 4th here on the horizon between Kenny Lowry and Kyle Manger. But other than that, at least inside of the top 5, things appear to have settled themselves out. And as we have taken now 5 laps to go, you're inside of the point to no return. A yellow flag from this point on would end the race.
Yeah, and I know that feeling of Brock Drury. You know, you can race on the sim and you're in the lead with 15 to go, and then you just see that time just coming down from a faster car behind you, and it's got to be such heartbreak for Brock. But again, fantastic run by him coming from 31st as James Grahula again falls through a unacceptable level, so he'll probably just keep it out of the race for now on. Unfortunate night for him, but amazing night for Seth the Merchant.
Really a helpless feeling as well for Drury. He's looking at the lap times. He's seeing the interval come down. You can't just drive the truck harder. We talked about being on that edge here at Las Vegas, Trev, and you overstep it a little bit just by rolling into the throttle too soon. In turn number 2, we've seen a couple of drivers get awfully close. You can get out of that groove oh so quickly. There's nothing Drury could have done. The strategy and the overall speed at the end of the day just wasn't in his favor. But still, again, in a great position. Not a lot of trucks working around him. Should be able to hang on as we take 3 to go.
Yeah, Drury played his cards the best of his ability, but Seth the Merchant just played his cards better. And at the end of the day, he's the better car on top. And now you see nearly 4 seconds ahead of him, you know. And absolutely, it's just a helpless feeling that you just see, and you can't do anything about it because either you finish second or you put your car in the wall and finish so many laps down.
2 laps to go this time by for Seth the Merchant in the 57 car. Started in 7th position. Obviously, we talked about the only race that we've had so far this year coming from Daytona International Speedway. Seth the Merchant was able to walk away with a top 3 finish from Daytona a week ago. But again, I refer to this as kind of the unofficial season opener. A lot of drivers just go into Daytona hoping for a good result, but not expecting to come out of there with a lot of points. So if you can knock out a top 5 in a wild card race like that, as the Merchant takes the white flag in the air, and less than a lap to go now from Las Vegas, if you can take a lot of points from a wild card race, come into the first real race that you can prepare for, practice for, and prep for, and you can park it in victory lane, Seth the Merchant is off to a fantastic start to the 2018 season. Final time down the Nellis straightaway as he heads into turns 3 and 4. The Peterson Irrigation Chevrolet of Seth the Merchant's going to come at a quarter to 4. He's looking for the checkered flag winner tonight from Las Vegas in the American Pool Supply 125.
Again, a great run by Seth the Merchant as you see him drifting it through the turns 1 and 2. Doing a little bit of celebration before the celebration, but just a great run by Seth the Merchant, able to make the correct calls for pit lane and get himself good enough tires so he has enough to pass Brock Drury. But you see him drifting again through turns 3 and 4. Just an absolute dominant performance by Seth the Merchant on these final laps.
We talked a lot about the strategy that the likes of Drury made. You can't forget about Peterson, Lowry, Manger. Everybody inside at the top 5 had to make a call in one way or another. But even for Seth the Merchant, as he burns it down, Trevin, this is not a win that he stumbled upon. He, too, had to make a decision. When do I come down pit road? What fuel strategy, what tire strategy am I going to be on? It always helps when I think you've got the fastest race car, but there was a point in this race and where there were 5-6 trucks that could have easily gotten the win. And at the end of the day, Peterson falls out of this thing. The likes of Lowry, and obviously we talked about the bad luck for the likes of Lugo Vickery and Tommy Ryan and such, but Seth the Merchant did make those correct strategy calls when it mattered the most to separate himself from everybody else and took this race from what looked like a toss-up to being a surefire win for the 57.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, got to touch upon Brock Drury. A fantastic performance by him. And, these guys are the best of the best at US or at this truck series. So just commending them so much. So I'm excited to see what happens in 2 weeks' time with this next week off. But I love watching these guys every week.
It should be a fun one when the series comes back. We've got some Victory Lane interviews to get to, so we'll take an opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we'll chat with the race winner, Seth the Merchant. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Championship Esports Association American Pool Supply Truck Series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. We will have the LSRTV post-race show when we come back to Las Vegas in a moment.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
And back live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Happy that you're with us for the LSRTV post-race show following tonight's American Pool Supply 125, part of the Championship Esports Association American Pool Supply Truck Series. 2 races down, still a long way from home in this 24-race championship. But as we continue to work into the season, slowly a picture of who the competitors for the title are going to be. And Seth the Merchant is making his name heard. 3rd last week, and your winner tonight from Las Vegas. We'll go trackside and chat with him in a moment. First, let's take a look at your LSRTV full race results. And Merchant gets the win after starting in 7th position. Brock Drury, big talk of the town, late in this one. It goes plus 29 spots to come home in 2nd position. He's obviously your hard charger for the evening as well. Great result for Christian Peterson. In fact, he'll be right there with the Merchant, who finished 3rd last week and winning this week. Peterson, your winner from a week ago, takes 3rd tonight. So that team is off to a very good start. Kenny Lowry comes home at a 4th, and Kyle Anger rounds out the top 5. Derek Paulson is 6th spot after it's all said and done. Matthew Murphy ends up in 7th with Nicholas Caldwell in 8th, Billy Tungate in 9th, and Tyler Lugo Vickery rounds out your top 10.
Finishing P11 is John Begaya, and finishing P12, Tommy Ryan, finishing P13, and the last car on the lead lap, Tom Morano. Finishing P14, Tyler Dalton. Finishing P15, Dustin Dean. Finishing P16, that's Dwight Beverly. Finishing P17, John Lyday. David Kilrow finishing P18th. Will Javicki finishing P19th. And Dustin Turngate finishing P20.
Even at the end of it all, there was still a ton of trucks a lap down. That includes 21st Christopher Hussey and Ryan Howard in 22nd. Reese Baum ends up 23rd tonight. William Kemp is 24th, 25th for Eric Forbes. Timothy Adams, Sean Cross, Randy Yoakum, Bo Gibbons, and Michael Held round out the top 30.
P1 goes to Jeremy Watkins. P32 goes to James Perhula. A struggling night for him. CJ Mason goes to P33. William Roberts Jr. goes to P34. And Paul Henley rounds out the lineup for tonight's event at Las Vegas.
Looked at the bottom at your 35 truck field. Let's go trackside and talk with the driver at the top of the mountain. Your winner tonight from Las Vegas is Seth the Merchant as he parks the 57 Chevrolet on top of the pile. Seth, congratulations on the win. This race looked like it was going one way, and it completely changed in that second half. We had a caution flag, a ton of pit strategy, and at the end of it all, you guys up front were able to use that speed at the end to capitalize. Walk us through it.
Yeah, that was a lot of strategy going in when we only have 2 sets of tires there. that would have stayed green, I think it would have been interesting at the end. I know a lot of the guys up front were going with a 3-stop, and then me and my teammate Manga were in the back saving fuel to do a 2-stop, and would have been interesting if wouldn't green the whole race, but with us only doing a 2-stop, it led us to have that one extra set of tires at the end, and it just all worked out. And those guys all were on like 20 lap old tires when the caution came out, and I could just drive up through there with Brock.
Obviously difficult to predict, if a yellow is going to come out. Unfortunately for you guys, as you just mentioned, your strategy kind of played into that early in this race. So when everybody was obviously on the same tires right off of the get-go for that first 40-lap run, it looked like it was really a group of 5-6 trucks that could have easily won this race on speed. I know it would have been very difficult over the course of the race to compare your truck with somebody else, especially when you're on a different strategy, and that means, of course, the difference in tires and so. But early in this race, did you guys feel confident enough that you would have been able to work it through and figure something out, or do you feel like maybe that the circumstances around this one and how you guys were set up very nicely at the end was a big factor in the result?
Oh yeah, with the way that we got the weather for this room, you could run wide open for like 5 or 6 laps. So when you're saving gas, like me and Manga was, we were running like half a second to a second slower a lap. But if it would have stayed green, it would have all come back at the end because we would have had to do one less pit stop, and I think we would have had precious tires at the end. If I'm not, I might be wrong, but it would have been close between us all.
You guys got I think it was the last or the second to last truck to get tires at the end, and you quickly erase that 6 to 7 second deficit to go on and win this one quite convincingly by 5+ seconds at the end of it all. So, we were talking a lot about in this one as well with Daytona last week. You guys got a good result, but tonight kind of the first, I don't want to say real race of the year, but first one you can really put your nose down to, work hard for, and you guys were able to get a win. So 2 great results early in the season. What's that mean for you and the team?
It's a lot. It's going to be nice. I think that's going to put me up into the points lead, so can kind of just try to get good, consistent finishes for the rest of the season and see if we can step here till the end.
Going to be a lot of different racetracks that we go to over the course of the year. 2 weeks' time, Iowa Speedway, small track. How's that play into your strategy?
I think one of my best tracks. It should be a lot of fun. Should be like 100 laps on our set of tires if we have the same strategy as tonight. So there'll be a lot of fall off and a lot more strategy like we saw tonight.
We look forward to that one, Seth. We appreciate your time. Before we let you take off, the sponsors and the shout-outs, who makes that 57 go so fast?
Just got to thank P-Money Designs for painting the trucks, Vincia Racing, Scott Austin Designs, 6-Man Inc., and 6-Man Race Cars. All the guys we got in this league, we got a lot of them. So, yeah, it should be a fun season.
Look forward to what you guys can do over the course of the year. Seth, as always, we appreciate you coming down and chatting with us. Congratulations. Enjoy the Sunday off next time around, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks' time from Iowa. Best of luck there.
Thank you.
Race winner tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Seth the Merchant, gets it back up atop 3 from a week ago. Should have put him in a very comfortable position 2 weeks in this 24-race campaign. Brock Drury was the one who almost pulled the rabbit out of the hat. It's still a great second-place finish for the driver of the 99 trackside. With him is Trevin.
Down here on pit lane with the number 99, Brock Drury. Brock, we are talking a lot about you on these closing laps, coming from 31st and finishing second. You were leading a handful of laps. What were you thinking as you saw the time click down and Seth the Merchant coming up on you?
I was thinking, wish this race would end now and wish there wasn't 15 more laps to go, but I need those tires to hold on a little bit longer, but Seth had a good race, and I wish that strategy would have paid off, but made it interesting at least.
Yes, it did. Now, coming into this race, what was really your strategy with, you only get four Goodyear tires. What was your strategy? Were you just going to wait for a caution? Were you going to wait for everybody else to come down? Or were you going to go do your own thing?
I was just going to wing it at first, but then it looked like it was going to go green the whole way, so I was going to try to make it in 2 stops, split it up about 42 laps, another 42 laps, and try to make it to the end. And that caution came towards the middle of the race, so I hadn't pitted yet, so I still had another set of tires. But I was just winging it. Figured it out as it went, and worked out pretty good, I guess.
Absolutely, it did, and that's the best kind of strategy, just winging it. Now, coming into a 1-week break, and then we have Iowa next. What's your strategy coming from a track like Daytona to a track like Vegas, then a short track like Iowa Speedway?
Just gotta practice and work on saving the tires better, and a lot different getting around Iowa and getting around Las Vegas and Daytona. So definitely had to practice up for that race.
Yeah, we expect to see good things from you in 2 weeks' time. Before we let you go, any sponsors and shout-outs? Who gets the job done for the number 99 machine?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout-out to Epilepsy Foundation. That's what I'm running on my car. A lot of stigmas and stereotypes that goes along with it. And a lot of people are just uneducated about it. I could talk all day about it, but if you want to know more, you can go to epilepsyfoundation.com and check it out for yourself.
All right, thank you. That is the number 99 of Brock Drury, finishing second, coming all the way from 31st position. Next up, we have got the third place machine of the number 23, Christian Peterson. Christian, that was a great run by you, staying really where you started. What was your strategy coming in with only knowing you only got 4 tires to work with?
Yeah, man, I don't know. It was pretty chaotic. I ended up taking the 4 tires early, and then we had the one more at the end. So it was pretty crazy. But I decided that I wanted to do it early because I had run a race last night, and I noticed that the track got a lot faster and more grippy, like in the slower parts, like way later in the race with all the rubber on the track. So I figured taking tires early to try to keep track position early, and then run a longer stint in the middle and hopefully not like fall off as hard. Obviously I'd be running like way more laps than that first stint, but just not fall off as hard. And then the third stint just go hard. And then we kind of got caught up and our strategy got screwed. We decided to pit early after like 15 or 20 laps into our run after that, the first stop. And then we got caught up in that yellow, and John and stuff, he was on the same strategy as I was, John Lyday, and he got caught up in the lap traffic, and I was lucky enough to get the lucky dog and get back on the lead lap, and that's really the only reason I was able to get back up to third.
Yeah, great performance by you. We see you in other series along lines of LSRTV broadcasting. How hard is it for you to change your style up from truck racing to short track racing to other things that you're involved in?
I'd say it's pretty even. I mean, you just got to kind of balance it out. I mean, that's kind of why I run mostly when I run like truck stuff, or the mile and a half. So I'll do it with the fixed setup or spec setup, and the short track stuff I'll stray and go to like the open stuff. So I kind of just pick and choose what I want to do for both spec and fixed, or spec and open. So yeah, that's how I kind of balance it out.
All right, now before we let you go, who gets it done for the number 23 machine of Christian Peterson?
Just everybody at Team Vincier, 6-man race cars, 6-man Inc. Got to thank Scott Austin Designs. He was also my spotter tonight. He helped a lot. There was a ton of lap traffic, so shout out to him. Shout out to iAnalyze and P-Money Designs for the pretty paint scheme tonight.
And that's your third place finisher, Christian Peterson. Evan, back to you.
Well, a big thanks to your top 3 for chatting with us. Seth the Merchant, Brock Drury, and Christian Peterson. 2 races down, still 22 to go. And we mentioned at the top of the night, we will be back here at Las Vegas October the 7th. That'll be the 20th race of the season back here at LVMS. And then the week after that, 21st race of the year across the street at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So that'll be fun. There's a lot, again, as we kind of teased, of interesting races. The likes of Knoxville, the likes of VIR, and we'll get to those, but we stick with the theme of truck racing, Trevin. We go to Iowa, which is a fun, rough, and tough track that'll be in 2 Sundays' time for 175, and we go from the biggest to kind of the middle of the tracks, and now one of the shorter ones. In fact, for the next 3 weeks or so, we'll be short track racing. Iowa going to be followed up by USA International and Bristol, so a little bit of a short track swing for the next month or so.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different from Daytona and Las Vegas. They're going to have to adjust a lot. Excuse me. And, you know, Iowa has that bump in turn 1, so if you hit that bump, it's just going to send you up the hill, so that's going to be exciting to watch for as the drivers conquer the Iowa Speedway.
And if we're looking for things to compare as well, Vegas has got bumps. If you're a fan of bumps, you're going to be a fan of Iowa as well. The good news for you, though, is you're never going to have to wait 2 weeks in order to get to see the next time the American Pool Supply Truck Series is on track. We've got plenty of sim racing action right here for you between now and then, including tomorrow night, the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC, is back. We'll be with you tomorrow starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also be with you this Wednesday, should say, the 14th, for ours Esport Tour. We hope you joined us for Media Day last week. If you didn't, catch up on everything you missed over on the YouTube channel, and we'll be live at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. And then to end out the week, as always, Friday nights, our Sunwest Construction Super Speedway Cup Series is at 9, and our Saturday night doubleheaders, 9 o'clock, the Outlaw Modifieds, and at 10, it is the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. As always, you can find a full look at our upcoming broadcast schedule online at www.livesimracing.com. But the best way to stay up to date with us is by following us on social media. You can subscribe right here at youtube.com/LSRTV. Make sure you tune on the notification bell so you never miss anything. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official, and follow us on Twitter at LSRTV. Until next time, though, on behalf of the entire team behind the scenes at Live Sim Racing LLC, for Laura Lawson, everybody else who makes it happen night in and night out up top of the booth, and of course, for your broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasocco, for Trevin Valderrama, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuso, I want to thank you for joining us and congratulate Seth the Merchant. First win for him in the Truck Series. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, Sunday, March the 25th, for the Iowa Speedway. That race and every race of the 2018 Championship Esports Association American Pool Supply Truck Series can be found right here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, though, good night from Las Vegas.